The Enemy of Time, Chapter 6. Early the next morning, I tucked my Monopoly game under one arm and a box of Happy Stars cereal under the other. Of course I had my survival pack on my back, and I grabbed the jug of milk on the way out the kitchen door. Tree number 3 and 22 was well stocked with everything else we should need, some eating utensils, things to sit on, a piece of carpet, and a pile of action figures. I knew that when they began watering the trees, someone would discover our stuff, but it should be safe for now. When I got there and ducked under the leafy branches, I saw Theo was already there. He was finishing off a strawberry toaster pastry, picking the crumbs off his jeans and eating them. "Happy stars," he said, holding out a slightly sticky yogurt container. I shook some cereal into it and rummaged in our stash for something to put mine in. I wiped the inside of a cottage cheese tub, filled it with cereal, and splashed some milk on it. Together we munched happily for a while. "Okay," he said, finally setting aside what was left of the cereal after picking out the marshmallows in his last bowl. "Tell me what's going on, what's with the Monopoly card, and why were you really out so late on the night of your birthday?" "What do you know about the Black Death?" I asked. "I watched a movie about it," Theo said. "Over in Europe, a long time ago, rats came into the country on ships, and their fleas were infected. When the fleas bit the people, everyone got sick, and then they died. People didn't know it was the fleas and rats that were carrying it." He shuddered. "There were rats everywhere back then. The movie showed lots of big rats running around and hiding out in all the little spaces. Like the rats in that movie, Willard." We were both quiet for a minute, remembering that movie. Neither of our parents would have let us see it, but Theo's cousin didn't know that. So when she was babysitting us, we all watched it. We knew better than to shriek too much, or she would have chased us out of the room. But I sure didn't sleep well that night. "I have a feeling we need to know as much as we can about it. I think we're going to have to time travel back there." "Sure," he said. "That should be fun. Are we going to make a machine, or are we going to use a magic belt buckle, or what?" "Not a game. I mean for real." I could see Theo hunting for his next words. "Are you sure you didn't get a concussion?" I glared at him. "No." "Well, maybe, but even if I did, this hasn't got anything to do with this. I met some people, only they weren't really people. I think they were aliens." "Okay, aliens." He poured himself another glass of milk. "Tell me." I told him everything, watching his expression change from amusement to worry, then to something guarded, and finally to just Theo in high spirits. I pulled out the little metal rat from my pocket and set it on the crate beside the milk carton, and then I unfolded the orange chance card and read it out loud again. "So that's it. And even if it sounds crazy, it really happened, and I really think I'll be traveling back in time. I'm going with you, right?" "You believe me?" "Sure," he said. "Sounds exciting. I read about time travel in a book. You can borrow it if you want. They said if you're with me when the token works, then you can go, so I'll only bring it out when we're together. That should make sure I don't leave you behind." I opened up the Monopoly box and set up the game. "Let's play," I said. We decided to leave the little rat token alone for now. Theo said we needed as much information on the time and place we were being sent to, and if the game could feed us clues, we could learn more. He went first. We rolled the dice. We bought properties. We drew the yellow and orange cards when we landed on those squares. Each time I felt hopeful, even though I had gone through and read them all last night, and nothing out of the ordinary had been written on them. I was the banker, and Theo was the property agent who handled the deed cards. We rolled the dice and advanced our tokens, the wheelbarrow and the cat. Theo drew a get-out-of-jail-free card, and I kept landing on property I already owned. It was starting to get boring until I drew a yellow community chest card that read, Advance token to Milan, Italy. Transfer all your goods there. It had a picture of Uncle Pennybags dumping out a wheelbarrow of what looked like laundry. I hadn't remembered seeing Milan on the board, but I still hunted for it. Theo, help me find Milan on the game board, I said. I know it's not on the board, but let me look in these. He shuffled through the deed cards that hadn't been bought yet until he found one that he let drop to the center of the board. It said, Milan, Italy. I picked it up. It felt the same as the others and had a rent fee listed like them. The rent was $100, twice as much as Boardwalk, the richest property on the board. The band across the top was black. I read the card out loud. Although only 90 miles inland from Genoa, Milan did not suffer the same devastating losses to the Black Death in the aftermath of the plague outbreak in 1348. Genoa was one of the most important seaports on the Mediterranean Sea. The city ended up bringing in sick sailors and diseased rats with their fleas along with the goods imported there. It proved impossible to contain the outbreaks of plague, but Milan was determined to resist the disease. One of the more severe actions was to wall up the houses of sick individuals and let them perish inside, hoping to keep the illness from spreading further. That's horrible, Theo said. I just quietly folded up the deed card along with the community chest card and stuck them in my pocket. Neither of us felt like finishing the game, so we decided to pack it up and go back to my house. While we walked back through the grove, Theo broke out into a song. He used My Bonnie Lies Over the Ocean for the tune. The wise ones, they came to our planet. The wise ones, they came in a star. But for days now we just haven't seen them, and we wonder wherever they are. Come back, prove that you really are real, Speak up, so we can get on with the deal. Theo was so clever at making up songs, he could actually sing, not like my frog croaking. Did they say they were going to come back and tell you some more about what you had to do? He asked. Not exactly, but they did say they would guide me. Maybe this is the way they're trying to do that. Send me clues. Theo changed the subject. Let's swing by my house so I can get my survival pack, he said. We can practice. I waited outside while Theo ran in to grab his pack, and then we headed back out into the grove. I put a bandana around my eyes while he led me along, twisting and winding through the orange trees, trying to get my directions mixed up. Now get your compass, he said, and find Nelson's plum orchard. Neither of us really knew how to read a compass, but it must have worked because that's where we ended up. The fog was lingering like it often did for weeks sometimes. Near the middle of the day it might rise up off the ground almost to the top of the trees, but we were still, as the weatherman said, socked in. Behind us the tall dark green wall of orange trees towered, and in front the rows of bare spiky plum trees stretched out into the white mist. We checked to see that the flat rock covering our canning jar time capsule was still there undisturbed. I'd already forgotten what we put in it last fall, but that was going to be part of the fun when we dug it up. We didn't cut through the plum orchard to the Nelsons' pasture, since the trees had just been pruned and piles of limbs and branches filled the rows. I knew from experience that a 2-inch plum tree spine could drive itself right through my shoe and into my heel. The orchard ended, and strands of rusty barbed wire hung over a boundary of short green pasture grass. We took turns lifting it and ducking through. Finally, it was time. It was time to test the drink-clean straw. We stood over Nelson's cow trough, gazing into the murky depths. Wisps of green algae waved as mosquito minnows swam through it. I rolled the drink-clean straw between my fingers, stalling. "Kind of stinky," Theo said. "I'm not really that thirsty," I said. "All that milk." "Me too. Maybe we can just come back by when we're thirsty. No reason to use it now, right?" "Right," I said, stuffing the water filter back into my pack. "Let's go to my house and look up the Black Death on the internet." He agreed, so we went back, picking up the Monopoly game on the way. We really tried to do serious research, but the horrible drawings and paintings of medieval people getting treated for the disease were very distracting. "Ooh, gross," Theo said as yet another picture popped up of someone getting their ugly swollen lumps, called buboes, cut into with a knife. The doctors in the picture were walking around in weird costumes. They were dressed in long black robes and looked like giant stiff-beaked birds with buggy eyes. "He was called a plague doctor," I read. "The beak is stuffed full of nice-smelling things because they thought disease was caused by putrid air." "I know my next Halloween costume," Theo said. He sang a song to the tune of "Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star." "Doctor, doctor in the cloak, can you cure me before I croak? Blow some incense in my eye, stab my buboes, I won't cry. Doctor, doctor, dressed in black, who are you behind that mask?" That made me giggle, and Theo looked pleased with himself. I took the notes we had made and folded the paper up to study later. We spent the next couple of weeks playing Monopoly, going through our survival packs, watching Star Trek, and looking online for more facts about the Black Death in Italy. We examined the Monopoly clues for more information. Theo noticed tiny writing on the side of the community chest wheelbarrow card. "What does MCCCXLIX mean?" he asked. "Those are Roman numerals," I answered. "Let's figure them out. M stands for 1,000, C stands for 100, X stands for 10, L is 50, and I is 1. But if a smaller one comes before a larger number, you have to subtract it from the bigger number." Theo had been writing everything down, and now he showed the results to me. 1349. It sounds like a year. That makes sense, with the plague starting in 1348. Maybe that's the year we need to travel to. "Where is the rat token?" he asked. "In my pack," I said. I was keeping it in a coin purse inside my pack. I was afraid to touch it, afraid it might zoom me back in time before I was ready to go. "I need to know more," I told myself. "I need more things for my survival pack, and I need to be wearing it when I go. I need to feel more ready." I told myself these things over the next several days when I thought about the task and felt the hum of urgency in my head. "Get out of my head, wise ones," I'd grumble. "I'll go when I'm ready." "Theo, you believe me?" right? It was a Saturday afternoon, and we were going through our packs again, replacing the granola bars we'd eaten last week. We were at my house and had dumped out the packs on the floor of the den. "Sure," he said. "Let's see what we have. Energy bars, chewy chocolate chip granola bars, and dried fruit bars." "Survival things," I said. We pulled out our pocket knives, compasses, waterproof matches, parachute cord, safety pins, and my drink clean straw. "I mean, do you really believe me about going back in time to fix things?" "Have you seen them again, the wise ones?" he asked, and then said, "First aid." We laid out Band-Aids, antibiotic ointment, and insect repellent wipes. "Miscellaneous." "No, I haven't," I admitted, as I spread out the coin purse with the rat token safely hidden inside, the folded up clues, the map of Milan I had downloaded and printed up, a roll of toilet paper, a pocket-sized flashlight, a gel pen, and a pad of paper, and a superhero comic book digest. "But it's all true, I know it." He said. "And if it turns out you were wrong, it's still a fun game, right?" I couldn't answer. My head suddenly felt tight, and my eyes burned. I'd already been feeling a little silly for believing a crazy story like a visit from alien creatures and traveling through time. Now it sounded like my best friend didn't believe me after all. I had thought it was all real. Was it? I was starting to waver, and it made me feel sick. I wasn't sure anymore. I had a new thought. It was obvious to me that Mom was letting me have some slack, letting me play all the time instead of doing homework or chores because of the bus wreck. But maybe there really was something wrong with me. Did Mom think I wasn't okay? I knew how my story of the strange visitors sounded, like it came from a disturbed girl, a girl who needed to see the doctor or a psychiatrist. I was suddenly embarrassed. "Let's go out and practice," Theo said. "What's the point?" I asked sarcastically. "You don't even believe me." "Valeria, I believe it for the game, like always. What's wrong? Come on, let's just go outside and play." "No, not right now. I don't feel like it," I said, feeling grumpy and betrayed. Then Theo got cranky and wanted to go home. Maybe he was getting tired of the game. Maybe it was just a game after all. I followed him to the end of the sidewalk. The weather was heavy and dull. The air seemed thick and boring. That's it, I thought. I'm done with all this. It was really just a stupid game anyway. And that's the end of Chapter 6. Come back around again in about a week for Chapter 7 of Valeria and the Enemy of Time.